We get asked the question a lot. Do you actually eat the freezer meals?
Yes, and the answer is yes, we do. And the follow-up question is, how often do you eat them? And
I eat them breakfast, lunch, and supper at the moment. I go through seasons. My freezer happens to be stocked right now with a lot of breakfasts and snacks and even lunches. We've started being more intentional about making lunch things because we both work from home, and I was finding that I wasn't eating lunch, I was skipping lunch. So I knew that if I actually had super easy, grab and go, delicious things, keyword delicious, that I would be more likely to eat lunches. So yes, for me, right now, I am eating freezer meals 2 to 3 times a day, which is a lot.
That is a lot. For me, I'm very low on freezer meals right now, which for those of you in the know, if you know, you know, that might sniff out that there might be a mega session coming soon, and maybe we'll get to that. Maybe we'll just leave you hanging. But I have mine, easily 5 or 6 days a week. My husband takes it for lunch the next day, and leftovers are great to have for lunch, or if we have the little lunches, it is great to have.
So we thought, just to show you kind of what, now, had I planned this better, I would have actually showed you like what I have for my breakfast and what I have for my lunches and all of that. And if you're interested, let me know in the comments, and I will plan a video where I actually take you through my day and show you literally like that I'm having zucchini loaf or waffles or breakfast quesadillas or whatever it is for breakfast, and then, you know, taquitos or soups or those little lazy chicken parmesans for lunch, or, you know, whatever it is, and then the dinners. But for this video, we thought we would show you what we're making for dinner, and just to make it a little bit more useful for you, we're going to tell you what we put into the freezer bag so that you can see how we actually assembled the freezer meal in the first place, and then how we cook it and how we serve it.
Totally.
This is how we live a freezer meal life video.
It's true, actually.
Just this past Sunday, we had a birthday dinner for my son's long-term girlfriend. Well, over a year, so I consider that kind of long-term. I sort of hope she's more than his girlfriend this time next year.
We all do. Like, this is awesome and serious, but carry on.
She's amazing.
Watch. Oh, I don't want to say it. Like, what if they break up and this video is out there and we've jinxed it? I don't think they will.
This video is not going to jinx it. But
no.
Yes, anyway.
They're lovely, both of them.
She is lovely. They are
lovely.
And so we decided to do a birthday dinner for her this Sunday. We have never, this is like precedent setting, because this is the first time that we've done a birthday dinner for a girlfriend or boyfriend of one of our kids. Before, you had to actually be family or be married in before you got to choose your birthday dinner and have all the grandparents and all, you know, over for the big meal. But she is very special, and
this girl has a stocking at their house, so definitely. you know she feels like part of the family already. We just don't have that official title yet. So what she wanted for her birthday dinner was anything, as long as we can have it with your dill pickle pasta salad. Oh, do you know what's funny? That would be what my daughter would ask for if you were planning her dinner, because my daughter loves the dill pickle pasta salad. Not a freezer meal, but very, very good.
So I texted her and I was like, I just quickly looked through what's in the freezer, and I've got honey mustard chicken burgers, and I've got 2 bags, which means it'll feed enough people that we can actually do this birthday dinner without much fuss, because it's just, we're only gonna have to make the dill pickle pasta salad. My husband happened to have picked up a potato salad at Costco, which is unusual for him, but he just had a hankering.
Isn't that funny?
And so it was really, really easy to do this birthday dinner. So I'm gonna tell you about how we made these honey mustard chicken burgers in the first place. To make these, you actually take your chicken breasts and slice them lengthwise in half so that your 4 chicken breasts become 8 burgers. Then you're gonna put those into your large resealable freezer bag. You're gonna add some Dijon mustard, honey, Italian seasoning, red pepper flakes, and salt. You're gonna squish all of that together in the bag to combine it. You're gonna get out your air because air causes freezer burn when you're making freezer meals. And then you're gonna freeze it. When I went to make this, I just took both bags out of the freezer, allowed them to thaw, and then I had my husband cook them up on the barbecue. I so wish I had video or photos for you, but I don't, because we were really busy that day. We had a house full of people.
You were birthday partying.
So I've got one picture of like people eating, so you'll see that. But to go along with this, I served the dill pickle pasta salad and the potato salad. But I also had sliced some pickles, some cheese, some tomatoes, and washed some lettuce. And so I had done all that work for the fixings. So the next day, I thought, okay, double duty. I'm gonna do something with the leftover fixings, plus she took a lot of the dill pickle pasta salad home because, you know, she loves it. But we still had some left, and we had a heap of that potato salad left. So what I did is I took out the Jamaican jerk turkey burgers, and I actually managed to get video and photos for you. So this one, you'll have a better idea. And we just served that with the same, like the lettuce leaf and the tomatoes that were already cut and the buns that were already sliced. And so it was so easy. All I had to do was take out my Jamaican jerk turkey burgers, and my husband threw them on the barbecue. These are really tasty, and actually I was surprised. I told Christie about the honey mustard chicken burgers.
We had ours, and she hadn't yet, and so I was like excited that she got to try them. And tell them what you told me.
Okay, so I wasn't sure that I would like, I was skeptical. I wasn't sure that I would like these chicken burgers. I had heard they were good, but I'm really kind of picky.
And she's not much of a meat eater.
No.
Like, to have a chicken breast and to just sit and eat it is not Charlotte's thing.
No.
No.
And so I pulled out a black bean veggie burger from my freezer, had my husband cook that up for me, and then I looked at the chicken burgers. And because they're sliced thinly, you know, you slice the breasts in half, they're like, it's not as intimidating for me.
It's not as meaty.
No.
It's totally manageable.
It's thinner, and and then also with the grill marks on there, again, I wish I had photos for you, but it just, like, it looked so appetizing, and I couldn't help myself. I ate the chicken burger and loved it.
I'm so proud of you. I'm glad. That is good. Yeah, they're good.
Really good. And then the Jamaican jerk turkey burgers, my husband and my kids were skeptical because they're like, turkey burgers. Now, they weren't skeptical this time because this was their second time having them. But the first time, they were like, I don't know.
My husband and kids were the same. Totally loved them.
Yes.
Totally loved them. Now, here's the thing. And so here's the thing. When you think of minced turkey, ground turkey, a lot of times you're like, oh, it's going to be dry. Like turkey in general, sometimes people complain about it being dry because it's such a lean meat. These are not. These are not dry because of how they're made. We will tell you the recipe, I promise. But they're just delicious.
Yes. So to make these Jamaican jerk turkey burgers in the first place, you're going to take your ground turkey, some Jamaican jerk seasoning, a peeled and grated Granny Smith apple, which is what makes these so moist and delicious, some chopped green onions, panko breadcrumbs, salt and pepper, and you're gonna mix that together in a bowl, and then you're gonna form these into 4 1-inch patties. Take your thumb and make an indentation in the middle of each, and then you're gonna put those in a single layer on a baking sheet and freeze them just like that so that they don't stick together. Then once they're frozen, you're gonna transfer them into a large resealable freezer bag, take out the air again, freeze it. The reason that you're gonna put the indentation with your thumb is because then you don't get that big puff in the middle of your patty that you can sometimes get with homemade burgers. And it really does work.
Yes, it totally does.
And it was a suggestion that we got from our YouTube viewers when we made Christie's homemade burgers.
Yes. And what's funny is I had heard that for many years and never really done it. I don't know why. I don't really have a problem with them puffing up. Sometimes I've had it happen, but actually I told you I was getting low on meals. I had bought a beef pack from a farmer's market, and so it's steaks and stew meat and ground beef. And so I had some ground beef, and I'm like, I'll make my burgers. My husband had said, like, oh, I would sure love to eat burgers. Do we have any? And I had some buns in the freezer, and so I made mine. But I had just been on holidays in Waterton Lakes. It is in southern Alberta, and it is one of the most beautiful places, and it's this tiny little town, 150 maybe residents year round. The town is just made of tourists, and they had a wonderful restaurant, and I never order a burger at a restaurant. I can have a burger at home, I never order a burger. I always get something that I don't generally make at home. And I ordered a burger, and it was the best burger I've ever had. And so I was like, I think I can do that again. And it was very sloppily put together. Like when you buy a burger in the store, the frozen ones, they're in perfect rounds. They look like a hockey puck if you're, no, they don't. They're wider and thinner. But this one, like, it had a chunk hanging off. Like, it was so misshapen. It's like they put it together and went,
oh, that's a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I forget what that's called, but what is that called? When you press the burger, it's a thing. It's a fad right now.
Okay, well, that's what they did, and it was amazing. So when I made my Christie's burgers, which we don't have in today's repertoire, sorry about that, but you know what, hit it. The recipe's on the website at freezermeals101.com. And so that's what I did. I'm like, normally I'm so careful about making sure that they're so perfect. And I'll even I'll like weigh them sometimes so that they're all equal. I just went, and they were just so fantastic. So I don't know what this does to them to make them so good, but it felt very rustic compared to me, trying to make them into perfect circles. And I didn't want it to fall apart, and it didn't, but so these turkey burgers, I bet you we could. Like, we can do the thumbprint, but I wonder.
It's going to drive me crazy now that I can't remember the name of this thing where, like, this is all the rage right now.
Somebody in YouTube land will know.
Yeah.
And they'll,
put
please
it
in the comments, and we'll be like, right.
I will Google it the minute we finish filming this video.
Do you want to Google it right now, and we can come back?
No, it's okay. So your trip was good.
Oh my goodness, I went on a solo trip. My first time ever leaving the house on a vacation without my children and husband, with the exception of 2 times I have gone away with you, but it's a work thing. Like, I'm gone for a week. And that's not entirely true. I've gone to I've done weekends, like women's retreats kind of thing, but it's going to be with other people. This was alone. And so I went and saw some friends in Calgary. We live near Edmonton. So I saw some old friends. One of them was my best friend from kindergarten. I taught her how to tie her shoes. And you grow up and you just kind of grow apart. We had reconnected lately, and it was just perfect. I went and I stayed at her house, and we just had the best time. I saw old friends. And then was my alone part, and I went to Waterton Lakes. I stopped at the World Heritage site called Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump, and if you have never been there, you should go. It is important information.
And look it up.
Look it up. If you can't get there, look it up. Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump. Everything about it was somber, but really, really important and really well done. I was super impressed with the whole operation. It was really, really well done. So I'm glad that I got to check that off my list. And then I went to Waterton Lakes, and I camped in a campground by myself. And I had camped in Banff with one of my friends from Calgary. They're close, it's like an hour away. And we walked all over Banff, and And he has spent a ton of time there, and I have known him since I was, 13, 14 years old. And he showed me, like, he spent so much time there, it was like my own personal tour guide, and that was really nice. And we ended up going to this hotel, and we saw this, what's the word? I told you about it, but I can never.
Burlesque.
We saw a burlesque show by accident. It was just the funniest thing. I won't go into that, but we just had no idea it was happening, and then it was happening, and we're like, okay. It was so funny. Anyway, I did sleep in the campground in Banff, but he was there in the tent beside me, and it was like, yeah. And if any of you are worried about me and my husband, he's gay. It's okay. It's like we're not like
Not
that.
your husband, the friend.
The friend. Yeah, yes. He knows my husband very well. Everything was on the up and up. And so when I was in Waterton Lakes by myself, I was in the campground and I set up my tent by myself and I
Did you feel empowered?
I don't know if that's the right word, but I felt I was proud of myself, and I felt like, okay, I can do things like this. That's totally okay to do. And I had a couple of friends recommend some hikes to me. One was called Red Rock Canyon, which I did first. And I'm not much of a hiker. In fact, there's a hashtag called Unlikely Hikers. And anytime I do a hike, I always hashtag that because, like, I am not a hiker. And I don't super enjoy it. We 4x4, so I get to see the views with much less effort, you know.
I love hiking.
Right. I don't super love it, but it was beautiful, and I did enjoy it, and it was a nice day, and it was okay to do it by myself. There was lots of people, and I wasn't worried about animals or anything like that. And the campground in Waterton Lakes is like in town. There was deer and stuff, but there was a few bear sightings, warnings. It was fine. So after the Red Rock Canyon, I hiked Blackiston Falls, which is about a kilometer and a half, and a little more rustic. And then I was feeling really good as I was driving back into town, and my friend in Calgary, my friend from kindergarten had suggested I climb one called Bear's Hump, and she had shown me a picture of it. She goes, here is me looking over the town because I climbed Bear's Hump. And I'm like, well, I could do that. I feel really good. Wow. So I got there and I got going, and it said moderate right on the thing as opposed to easy. And I'm like, going up. And I had talked about this with my friend in Calgary when we were staying in Banff, because I had years and years and years ago, I climbed Mount Fairview in Lake Louise. I have lived in Alberta my whole life. I've been to the mountains a million times. And it was my first year of college, and our physics prof, on the first weekend of September would take his students, whoever wanted to go, they'd have to drive themselves, to go climb Mount Fairview, because he really believed in visualization, where if you can, create this metaphor in your brain of succeeding, then you will succeed in other things. And so he applied it to his physics class. He was the cross-country running coach. He was a great guy. So I climbed this with that friend from kindergarten, because we were roommates in college, and another friend, Anne-Marie, from Saskatoon, that I know her. That's where I met her. Okay. Was in that physics class and on that trip. And she rode in my car.
How fortuitous.
It really was. So I climbed that. It took 3 to 5 hours. It was beautiful views once we got to the top, and you overlooked actual Lake Louise and the Chateau Lake Louise, which is a beautiful property hotel. It's just an incredible thing. Hated every minute of it. I hated it. It was so hard. I was sweating. I was cranky. I was not in shape. I was not prepared for what I was doing. I just thought, I'm young and I'm going to do these things, and I hated it. And it wasn't important to me until years later. I have small children, and we were standing at the base at Lake Louise, looking up at Mount Fairview, and I said, Mom climbed that mountain. Look at Mom climbed that mountain. And I was finally proud of myself and finally glad I did it. And so I was telling my friend when we were in Banff about this, and he said, that is the perfect example of type 2 fun. I had never heard of this term before. I'm like, what is type 2 fun? He said, well, type 1 fun. He said, they use this term a lot in like mountain climbing. He climbs mountains all the time. He has climbed mountains with the pickaxe and the ropes, but he now just hikes up steep mountains. So he climbs all the time, but when you're in the grind, it's not fun. He's like, so type 1 fun is when you're having fun while you're doing the thing.
I like that kind of fun.
Type 2 fun is when it's really, really hard, but you're going to appreciate it after, and you're going to look back on that and say, that was really fun.
I have experienced that kind of fun.
Yes. It makes sense that that's what they call it, type 2 fun. He's like, that's an awesome example of type 2 fun, because it actually took 20 years for you to like appreciate it. Right. And so I looked it up when I got home. Type 3 fun, he told me it's like when you break a bone or something, and I'm like, I don't know. Type 3 fun is when you hate it at the time and it's awful and you are regretting it and you never appreciate it.
But then that's no fun at all. That can't be type 3
So like,
fun.
why are people doing it?
And why would they say fun? Because it's not fun.
It's almost a joke, right? But what it is, it's people who get into hobbies that they stop enjoying. Mm-hmm. And it can be any hobby. It doesn't have to be mountain climbing, right? So back to my bear's head story. I am in the middle of type 2 fun, fully aware that I am having type 2 fun. I am going to enjoy this someday. Darn it. So I did. I climbed it. It was a kilometer and a half up and a kilometer and a half back. So 3 kilometer round trip, but it was straight up. And there was 3 women with a tour guide that were from North Carolina. And so when you grow up in Alberta and you grow up near the mountains, you are so proud of, we love our mountains. I don't want to say it's pride necessarily, we love our mountains. And so to be able to share that with them, I was just so excited about that. And so we encouraged each other on the way up, and because these women were older than me, and I'm like, okay, we can do it. If they can do it, I can do it. And I did. I got to the top. I have beautiful pictures. I will share them with you. See the whole town. You could see the Prince of Wales Hotel, which is a beautiful chateau-style hotel that's very old. And it was just type 2 fun. I didn't super love it at the time. Afterwards, but I immediately felt good that I had done it. And I felt better about that than waiting 20 years. And when I got back down, it was so busy, I was only able to book my campsite for one night. Mm-hmm. So poor me, I had to book a hotel that had a soaker tub. Awful.
Oh, that's too bad, and especially like the timing, being on the day of the 2 hikes and everything.
Yes, so I went and I soaked in my tub, and then I went and had the best burger that I'd ever had. I think it was at a place called the Thirsty Grizzly.
That's cute.
And then I went on my way back to my hotel. I walked, because everything, like it's such a small town, you can walk everywhere. My legs were so sore. I stopped in at the little general store. It was still open, and I got some Epsom salts. And Smart. I soaked again, and it actually made a difference. Mm-hmm. And because I was at that point, I'm like, okay, I really was supposed to stay another night, but I'm like, I overdid it today. I know I did. I miss my family. I miss my husband. I want to see my kids. I want to tell them about my trip. I miss Charla. And I just am ready to go home. And so I did. The next day I got in my car and I drove. It was like 6 hours, and I made stops along the way, and it was fine. I stopped at Ellis Bird Farm, which is one of my favorite places on earth. And if you are from Central Alberta and you haven't heard of it and you're garden-y at all, you need to go look it up. It's called, sometimes it's Ellis Nature Center, sometimes it's Ellis Bird Farm. Google either one, you will get the right place. And it's kind of incredible. It's set up for pollinators. So if you're into flowers, that's your jam. That's it. That's my whole story about camping. Thank you for listening.
That's very cool.
To talk about my burger.
I mean, right? But still, I mean, I asked. So.
Yeah.
And, we've got the little timestamps. So if you didn't want to hear our stories, you can skip ahead to the next recipe.
Yeah, be one. You come for the food and stay for the chat. I know you do.
Okay, so let's talk about one of the meals that you make with your family.
So I was really excited to try this one. It is the One Pot Skillet Lasagna. Mm-hmm. And it is in the Freezer Meals 101 Club, which we will talk about a little bit later. But it is an awesome recipe, and I was excited to try it because we have a really good lasagna soup that is outrageously good, which is also in the club and on the main site. You need to look this one up. And eventually the One Pot Skillet Lasagna will end up on the main site too. Don't worry, we don't gatekeep our recipe. We
have to make that soup again this
We have to make that soup. I haven't had it in a while.
Not this next mega session.
Yeah.
Because, spoiler alert, this next mega session, we are doing 100% brand new recipes, which we have never even tried. So the whole thing is experimental.
The whole thing. So we're only going to make
sure
2 of each, because if we had 4 of each and then we're stuck with them, and we've done that to ourselves before. So it's going to be good. And I'm ready for it, because I'm ready to fill my freezer. I'm getting down to the last bit.
I have 8 freezer meals, like dinners. I've got lots of lunches.
Yeah.
Well, I've got some lunches. I've got lots of breakfast and snack food, because, you know, gearing up for back to school and stuff, I was filling my freezer. But oh my, 8
That's a
dinners.
terrifying feeling.
Yes.
And if you live like we do, where seriously, we've just told you that we eat 5 to 6 nights a week, 7 nights a week out of our freezer, to have 8 left is panicky. I probably have like 6 regular meals, which I'm saying that in quotes, because I probably also have 6 roasts. They're my last one to use. Like, so we have Mississippi pot roast, we'll have beef on a bun, we'll have the Dr. Pepper pulled pork, or the pork carnitas.
Oh my goodness.
So I
good.
have all of those, but my husband goes through these things where he's like, I don't want shredded meat. And so I've been putting them off, and they're stupid because they're taking up a lot of space.
The pork carnitas.
Okay, I'll do the pork carnitas this week.
Like, you had them here.
I've had them. I came to her house and
my
ate them.
leftovers.
Okay, I'll get back to this lasagna skillet. We have such a good lasagna soup. I was really looking forward to the lasagna skillet, and it is very, very good. So here's how we make it. Into our bag, we're going to add some ground sausage that has been browned and cooled. We're going to add in minced garlic. We just use it straight from a jar. It's fast and it's fresh. Add some salt and pepper, some oregano, basil, rosemary, a bit of fennel, unless you're Christie, and then you might skip that because you don't super love fennel. And then a can of crushed tomatoes. Then you're going to mix that around. You're going to remove your excess air and seal it up. In a medium-sized bag, that's the quart size, you're going to add in ricotta cheese. Did you know you could freeze ricotta cheese? Yes, you can. Some Parmesan cheese and some shredded mozzarella. Mix that around, seal that up, and staple those bags together. Make sure you staple above the seal. We don't want holes in the leaky part. So once you freeze them, you are going to then thaw them on the day you want to go cook these. You're going to need a small pasta, such as the small shells. If you can find them, I do really like to use the mini lasagna noodles because it's just so cute. So that is what I have used here. I didn't include it in the freezer. It's just sat in my pantry, and that is okay. Nobody ate them while I was waiting to make this meal. So to cook this, I'm going to bring the contents of that large bag and 4 cups of water to a boil in a deep skillet or a large pot. Then I'm going to add in my mini lasagna pastas, or you can add in your shells. And then I'm going to turn my heat to medium-low, and I'm going to cook and occasionally stir it and let that awesome, lasagna water soak into my lasagna noodles. And I'm going to cook them until they are al dente. And then it doesn't call for it in the recipe, but when I made it, I had some spinach. And so I just added the spinach in just for a little bit of extra nutrients, and I probably needed to use it up because it was starting to go wilty in my fridge. So I stirred in the spinach, which worked really well in this case, and then I topped it with those awesome cheeses that were in the medium-sized bag, and I let them get all melty, and then you cover it and you just let that melt until you are ready to eat it. So this is all in one pot. You don't need anything else. You could probably put some garlic bread or something, or make a side salad with it, but this is a beautiful dish. It is tasty, it's flavorful, and it was just so easy because it was just in a bag and it was bam, in my stove.
And you can sprinkle some Parmesan if you want on there, and if you're me, you can add some red pepper flakes.
Yes, of course, because that is Charlotte's life. Red pepper flakes and everything.
Flakes on everything. Or hot sauce.
Yes. No, and at our house it wasn't super spicy. Well, and at Charlotte's house she would have used the spicy Italian sausage, and at Christie's house we would have used the mild Italian sausage. Or sometimes I'll do a mix. My kids are getting older and they're starting to get a little more okay with the heat. And if I make the lasagna soup, I definitely use the spicy.
Because it's just so good, so flavorful.
Yeah.
All right, so our Moo Shu Pork, you have heard me talk about this before because I love it. It's
yummy.
We invented the recipe because my husband and I used to go to a Chinese restaurant in a city that's near us in Edmonton, which is sort of near where we live, and they shut down like over a decade ago. And the only thing that I miss from there is the Moo Shu Pork. And so it had never occurred to me to try to invent my own. And then one day Christie and I were talking and I was like, I could try to freezer mealize that. Like I could try to make my own. So
yeah.
We did, and it's great. And it's all done ahead, and I can have several bags in the freezer that way. You can take out multiple bags if you're serving a lot of people, like we did with those honey mustard chicken burgers, or you can just take out one bag if there's less of you. So you're gonna put some pork chops or pork tenderloin that are thinly sliced into a large freezer bag. Then in a bowl, you're gonna mix together some orange juice, hoisin sauce, soy sauce, sesame oil, minced garlic, we just use ours from a jar, and minced ginger. We like this squeezy tube ginger for that. Then when that's all mixed together, you're gonna pour half of that in with your pork, and you're gonna pour the rest into a medium size, that's a quart size freezer bag. Then you're gonna put some shredded cabbage and mushrooms in a bag with a splash of vegetable oil. I used the cabbage from a coleslaw bag so that it was already shredded for me, a bit of a cheat, but just saved me some time. You're gonna staple all of those bags together above the seal after you get the air out and seal them. Then on the day you go to make this, you thaw it, and as you'll see, I've fried up the pork in a large skillet just until it's cooked through, and then you actually take that out of your skillet, and then you're gonna fry up your cabbage and mushroom bag in that same skillet, just with a bit of oil. Once that's starting to brown, you're gonna add your pork back in and add that delicious sauce. You're gonna stir that all up, and then you're gonna top it with some sliced green onions, and if you want, some sliced radishes. I love radishes, so radishes always go on mine. And then you serve this with Chinese pancakes or on flour tortillas. We had ours in flour tortillas, and we ate them so quickly that I didn't get video or photos of that part. But you can kind of use your imagination for what you saw at the end there with the skillet, and imagine that in a flour tortilla. And
so do you roll it?
You roll it,
okay.
And then you get the crunch from the radishes, and that meat is really tender.
Yeah.
And the sauce, it's just such a good, and it's like different.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We have a lot of Asian themed recipes, but this one is very different from anything else, but partly because of the pork, but honestly, how it's made, plus the radishes and with the tortilla.
And how you serve it, yes.
Yeah, you are totally right.
Now in our area, I cannot figure out where to get Chinese pancakes. I think that it would be better and obviously taste more authentic if I could figure out where to buy those.
Or even how to make them.
Yeah, that is an undertaking that might be for another year for me. Feeling like life's a bit busy at the moment.
I bet you could do a French crepe.
No, it wouldn't have, like a Chinese pancake is thicker.
Okay, I don't know. I haven't had them, so I don't know what to compare. Yeah. And I'll be honest, I don't even think I had tortillas when we made our Moo Shu pork. So I think I just served it on rice, like a regular stir fry, which is totally fine.
The flavor was still there.
The flavor was still there, and it was very, very good.
And speaking of stir fries.
Speaking of stir fry, the next one I'm going to tell you about is our chicken and veg stir fry. This one is pretty similar in that we're going to separate out the protein with the vegetables, and we're going to cook them separately initially, and I'll get to it. So into our large freezer bag, we're going to add our diced raw chicken, and then in a bowl, we're going to mix together some chicken broth, soy sauce, brown sugar, sesame oil, some sesame seeds, minced ginger, again from the squeezy tube, some minced garlic, and red pepper flakes. Then we are going to pour about a quarter cup of that marinade into the chicken bag and seal that up. And then the remainder of the marinade we're going to put into a medium-sized bag that will be for our sauce for when we cook it. And then we're going to put our vegetables in another bag. So in another large bag, we're going to add some sugar peas or snap peas or snow peas, whatever peas you like to stir fry with, really. They all freeze fairly well. We're going to add in carrots that have been peeled and sliced. Now, if you have never made a stir fry before, or if you've seen people make stir fries and you see that they always slice their vegetables on an angle, it's so that they cook quicker. They have more surface area that's touching the pan, but it's really, really thin. So you get the same amount of carrot as if it was thick. It's just cooks faster. So it's very smart that they do it that way. And so you're going to add your carrots and your sliced red pepper and broccoli florets. Now you can use fresh or frozen. Seal that up, staple your bags together, and get it into your freezer. On the day of cooking, you're going to allow it to thaw. You're going to heat your pan up or wok with some oil, and you're going to first stir fry the chicken for a few minutes. Now, the recipe here says to add in the vegetables and your sauce and make a cornstarch slurry. So that's when you take like some cold water, just a little bit, maybe a quarter cup. You're gonna add a tablespoon of cornstarch into that and mix and mix and mix until it's thoroughly mixed, and then you can add it into your sauce, and you allow that to cook out for a few minutes, and it will thicken up your sauce. And so you're going to stir fry for another 3 to 5 minutes until your chicken is no longer pink, and you can serve this over rice or Shanghai noodles. When I made this, I did it kind of like what the Moo Shu Pork says, to take the chicken out, like you take the pork out. I cook my vegetables a little bit more separately, and then I add them back in at the end. So I just do it a little bit different. That's how I was taught to make a stir fry, so I do like to do it that way. But really, at the end of the day, you could just dump this all into one bag and get it all done, and it would be just fine. If you didn't want to do this in 3 bags, you totally could.
Oh yeah.
We have recipes where we've done that, and it works.
It works. We're just like to mitigate for texture issues because we don't want you to end up with mushy freezer meals.
No, absolutely. So this is a way to get around that. And the flavor is, I mean, these are simple ingredients. The flavor is just outstanding. And it's so pretty on your plate.
It is with all the
It's pretty in the bag, it's pretty on the plate, it's awesome.
So this next recipe, I am obsessed with. Like obsessed.
You have talked about it. I think I still haven't had it.
No, I don't think you have had it.
No, we haven't done it in a mega session.
It's so good. And I've made it several times. And you know when Christie sometimes talks about like, sometimes we'll make freezer meals in between our mega sessions to kind of tide us over when it's a time like now where we're running low on meals. So this is one that I did make in between sessions because, okay, so it's our Marry Me Chicken Orzo. Yes, it is on its way to the club, don't fear. But I love it for so many reasons. I love the flavors. I love how easy it is. I love that it's one pot, so there's less dishes, which I know you've probably heard me talk about before. But also, I haven't cooked with Orzo before. I love that with Orzo, I don't have to cut the pasta for my toddler. It is like
every bite is the perfect bite.
Like he can just eat this himself. So it is saving me work because first it's a freezer meal, so I don't have to worry about what's for dinner, and I don't have to I have to make it, but hardly, you'll see. But also, like, it's saving me work on the dishes, and it's saving me work on not having to stand there and cut all the pasta. So this is why I am obsessed.
I love it.
The flavor is truly why I'm obsessed, but those other things too. So to make your freezer meal version, to assemble the freezer meal of this one pot Marry Me Chicken Orzo pasta, you're going to put some cooked cube chicken in a large freezer bag. You're going to add some minced garlic, some sliced sun-dried tomatoes, paprika, oregano, pepper, chicken broth, and heavy cream. Then you're gonna put some Parmesan cheese that's shredded into a quart-size bag. You're gonna get the air out of both bags, staple them together above the seam. Now, if you were worried about your Orzo like disappearing from your pantry, I don't know, if you have teenagers like I do and they like to make themselves late night snacks, you can also put your 1 cup of Orzo pasta into a quart-size bag and staple that right on there. But otherwise, I mean, the Orzo can live in your pantry and it will be just fine. So this is in your freezer. You have this super busy day. Maybe you're like at hospital treatments with your daughter. Or
who do we know that does that?
You know?
Or your kids are getting home from school and you have to be at football practice at 6 o'clock or at guitar at 5:30 and
volleyball camp.
Or at volleyball camp, which my son is hopefully getting to today, and I did not line up a ride for him, but my daughter drives now and hopefully she can wake up in time to take him.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is a great meal for those busy days because it's a thin bag. It thaws quickly, so if you forget to take something out in the morning, you can still get this on in time. In a large stovetop pot, you are going to just bring the contents of that large bag to a boil. You're gonna stir in your Orzo pasta uncooked. Uncooked. You don't even have to dirty a separate pot. You don't have to dirty a strainer. There's no strainers involved here. There are no strainers injured in the filming of this video. Anyway. Then you're gonna turn your heat down to simmer and just cook it for 12 to 14 minutes, stirring here and there. When most of the liquid is absorbed, you're going to stir in your Parmesan cheese, allow it to melt, and serve it. My only complaint about this recipe is that it is not large enough to feed our family. So in the future, for our size family, I would double it just because it has been so popular. Everyone loves it and fights over it. It isn't enough to feed us. I have been doing it more like as a lunch or that kind of thing.
Or when there's only like 3 of you home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the toddler really can eat like 3 bowls of this. Like, he is a fan.
And this kid isn't much of an eater, so when you know how it is if you're a parent. If you find the thing that your kid will eat, then you go with that until they don't, which could be a week, it could be a year, it could be tomorrow, but you go with it.
He will also eat our 1-pot Cajun chicken pasta.
Oh yeah.
Except then I have to cut.
Which is kind of funny because it's a spicy, like it's got some heat into it.
Spicy. And the other thing that he will eat is curries. He eats our seafood curry pasta. He eats our mango chicken in a cream sauce.
It has a curry.
What is it?
Yeah, mango chicken in a cream sauce.
And that is curry.
But it also has long noodles, so she has to cut.
I do. And then, because that one's with spaghetti or served over spaghetti. And then he likes our ground beef curry. And I didn't even plan that.
Totally handy. Because that is
next recipe.
Totally my next recipe. And as soon as you start saying about the curries, and I'm like, what a segue, Charla.
We did not even plan
that. That is so funny. Do you know what? If it was not the next one on my list, I would have shuffled it to be at the top of my list because that was too perfect. Yeah, the curried ground beef is easily one of our favorite newer recipes, which actually has probably been around for 6 months or a year maybe, but it feels new because we've been doing this for a while. Do you know what? We have almost 400 recipes in the Freezer Meals 101 Club.
Yeah, we do.
And after our next, we'll hit that soon because of this mini session. Charlotte just made this one up. We had extra ground beef after one of our mega sessions, and she's like, well, let's just do this. And it just turned out to be such a hit that every time, it doesn't matter what I make, my husband will be like, have we had this one before? This is really good. It's always a yes. Well, I guess unless it isn't, but yes, we have it and you like it every time. This is fantastic. Like, could we just eat this, please? So into a large freezer bag, you're just gonna add all your ingredients. This is super simple to put together. It's your ground beef that has been cooked and cooled. And if you don't know, 1 pound of ground beef is equal to 2 1/3 cups of of ground beef cooked. So if we just keep a 1 cup measuring cup in our bowl of ground beef and we just measure it out that way. It's super simple. We've been doing it this way for the whole time we've been making freezer meals, and it's just consistent, right? So, I mean, there's some wiggle room. If you Google it, you might see slightly different measurements, but it's about that much. So we're gonna add in our ground beef into our bag. We're gonna add in minced onion, minced garlic, some Madras curry paste. Now, this calls for a tablespoon. If it's not super spicy, it's just super flavorful. So we're going to add in some cinnamon, turmeric, minced ginger, some diced tomatoes, some carrots that have been peeled and diced, some frozen peas, and some salt and pepper. And that is it. You get that into the bag, you mix it around, because again, we don't like using bowls if we don't have to. We're gonna get that excess air out, seal it up, and freeze it. On the day you go to cook this, again, it's a thinner bag, so it cooks up really, really well. You're going to heat this until bubbling in a large skillet. Let your flavors meld a bit and your onion get soft and you're good to go. You can also do this in the slow cooker if you want to like set it and forget it. You could set it on low for 3 or 4 hours. And then we serve this often with naan. That is our favorite way to do it, and it's an Indian flatbread. You can mop up sauces with it. Sometimes I'll make it with rice as well.
Do you heat your naan in the oven?
Every time.
Yeah.
Well, because I freeze it. I will buy the Costco naan.
Okay.
And okay, so here's the other thing.
We've never talked about this.
Oh, yeah, I have a whole naan system.
Okay.
So
wow.
Naan is an Indian flatbread that literally translates to bread. So I always laugh when people say naan bread because it's like saying bread, but that's okay. I used to work for my manager years ago at an engineering firm, was an Indian fellow who would bring me like chicken biryani from his wife, and we would always go to the Indian restaurants because he
knew the best ones.
He knew the best ones, and he loved to feed me. Like,
nice.
Yes, and I was pregnant when I was working for him, and he loved to feed me. Like, he just would bring food for me from home. It was so great. But yes, I learned a lot about Indian food from him, and that's when I actually learned to really enjoy Indian food. But all that to say, yeah, so you just have like you've done this with Ethiopian food, where it sops up saucy things, and a lot of Indian food is saucy. So I always have naan. I buy the big Costco one, I throw it in my freezer, you take it out, and you can also at Costco buy the mini naans.
Oh yes, I have seen those.
And so we'll eat them with tzatziki. It's like having the mini pitas, but we get the mini naans. And so I'll have it with that. They go nicely in the air fryer because you don't need to preheat it. Yeah. You just throw it in there in like 3 minutes and it's probably overdone. I will put them on a cookie sheet and put them in my oven at 350 for 5 minutes. And so they'll start to crisp up on top. So I'll flip them over and they will. And they hold up really well. They don't get super freezer burn, not like your more tender like buns and stuff and breads. They're hearty and good, and it's the best. And you can get like garlic, you can.
Oh yeah, the flavor.
Yeah.
I find that hot dog buns are the worst for freezer burn.
Terrible. Yeah. Like
they do not last. And it's one of those things where like we don't have hot dogs often.
But when you do, you never have them.
And it's always last minute because it's always like.
Can we have a fire?
Yeah, the kids want to have we live in the country.
Yeah.
So we can, we don't have to worry about like, obviously if there's a fire ban, we don't have a fire. Don't report us because we're really good about that.
Yes, we are.
We are actually very good about that. But if it's, free for all, then we can, the kids will want to have friends over and have a fire in the yard or whatever. But it's always last minute.
Yeah, we always have hot dogs.
Totally. And you can freeze hot dogs. You get them on a good sale and you toss as many packs as you want in a freezer. They'll last for 300 years. Okay, maybe not 300 years, but like they'll last and
But
last
the buns don't.
The buns do not.
Lots of times I will put them in the freezer bag. Like they'll be in their bag, and then I'll put that bag in a freezer bag. Sometimes it's too many and you have to take a few. Like it's always a hassle. And they're so much better fresh because they're actually a really nice bun.
Right.
It's like good bread. But it doesn't freeze nicely. So then you end up throwing them out and you feel bad that you wasted it, or you have to go to town because we're out of town. You have to go to town for hot dog buns.
The closest store if you
It's like
speed it a
literally
little bit, it's 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's not horrendous, but really like to get anywhere, like to really get anywhere in town is 15 minutes each way. So it's not like
it's not instant.
And a jump.
And with gas prices, you try avoid it. Like I grew up on a farm 25, 30 minutes from a city where you collected your grocery list and you went once a week, and you didn't just go on a whim. This next one is a lovely recipe. It's easy to put together. It is easy to make because it is a sheet pan meal, which again follows the theme of we don't like to do a whole lot of dishes. We sound really lazy, but we work really hard.
It's like the one pot, but on a sheet.
And usually with tinfoil or parchment paper, so cleanup is even easier. This is Hawaiian chicken sheet pan meal, and it is awesome. We are going to start out with our large bag. We're going to add our chicken, which has been cubed. We're going to add in a coarsely chopped red pepper and an orange pepper, and also a purple onion in large chunks. We're going to add in 2 carrots that have been coarsely chopped. And in this particular video, I will mention my daughter helped with the prep, and she got a little too coarse with her coarsely chopped carrots. We add in our minced garlic and thick teriyaki sauce and a bit of pineapple juice. So we're gonna mix that around and get our excess air out of the bag, seal it up, and freeze it. You are going to set aside in your pantry a can of pineapple chunks that you're going to use on the day of cooking, and that is for later. When you go to cook this, you're going to allow it to thaw. You're going to lay your parchment paper out on your fancy cooking sheet. You're going to spread the contents of the bag out onto the baking sheet and cook at 350 for 20 minutes, and then we're going to open that can of pineapple chunks, drain them, and sprinkle those out onto the sheet pan and give it another 10 to 20 minutes and until your chicken is no longer pink in the middle, or if you can get a meat thermometer into your tiny little chicken pieces, it has to be at a minimum temperature of 165 to be safe to eat. And I serve this on rice. It isn't super saucy, but it's just enough. Like everything just is coated nicely. It does go nicely on rice. You could do this with a noodle. You could probably do it on naan. And our family really does enjoy this one.
It's nice and fresh because of the pineapple.
Absolutely.
And even the orange pepper and things. But it's got all those colors. It's got the nutrients.
It's pretty in the bag. It's pretty on your plate. It's all the things.
If you have watched our videos for a while, then you may know that I don't eat beef. So it may surprise you that this next recipe I'm sharing with you is a beef recipe. And actually there are 2 beef recipes that I've made lately that I feel like I have had vicariously through my family because they raved about them so much. One was the beef barbacoa, which I do have video of cooking, but I will save that for another day because today I'm going to share with you the barbecue beef on a bun, which is a newer recipe. We did it in a mega session. I will pop the video for that mega session right up there. It was an experiment during that mega session because in those where we make 3 months of meals at a time, that's why our freezers are getting bare because we're getting to the end of what we made that time. But in those, we always do throw in a few new recipes, not like this next time where it's all new all the time. But we always throw in a few new ones. And so this was one of the new ones. And this is one where Christie's still got it in her freezer, and maybe after I talk about it today, she's gonna want to.
How many of these did we make? Because I know I've made it one time, and we did enjoy it. It was very good.
I don't know if we made 2 each. We might have only made 1 each, because we also made the Mississippi pot roast in that same.
I bet you that's the one that I have.
Yeah. My husband and my kids are like, okay, the beef barbacoa, I actually know that it's good because even though I didn't eat it, I smelled it. Like it was that good. Like it, and that was like where I called Christie and I was like, you have to try this. Are you home? I'm going to bring some over. That's what happened. She wasn't home.
Right.
So I was going to walk some over. She's 2 doors down.
There have been times in our relationship where she has like literally sent food over or brought it over because it was so exciting she had to share. And I love that.
I'm just passionate about food. And this is food that I didn't even eat. I just smelled it and was it was that good that I had to get it to her. Anyway, she now has it in her freezer because I couldn't get it to her that day. She was actually gone for most of that weekend. And so now I didn't want it to go bad because it was cooked already and I knew it could be refrozen because if it's in your freezer raw and then you cook it, then you can actually put it back in your freezer, which is super handy. But yes, so now it's in Christie's freezer.
No, we ate it.
Oh, you did?
I'm sorry. Yes, we did.
Oh, you didn't tell me.
It was fantastic.
Wasn't it?
Yes, we ate it for 2 days.
Okay.
And we just loved it, every minute of it. And it's got a heat, and my first
spicy
because it's got the adobo peppers.
Yes.
We'll get to the recipe, I promise.
Actually, we're not even getting to that.
Oh, that's on a whole nother day. The adobo peppers, we also have that in the Dr. Pepper pulled pork. So I'm like, oh, this is going to be spicy, and it was too much for me. The way Charla makes it, not only does she put all the peppers in, she shreds them up with the beef, and so you're eating these peppers, and I thought, I am going to die when I eat this. It wasn't like that. It was totally manageable, and I enjoyed every scrap of that food.
Yeah, my family, they raved about it, and they raved about this next one that I actually am going to tell you about, which is the barbecue beef on a bun.
Which is also very good. Very rave-worthy.
You've got your pot roast in your freezer bag. You're going to add in some minced onion, some minced garlic, beef broth, ketchup, brown sugar, paprika, salt, pepper, liquid smoke, dry mustard powder, cider vinegar, Worcestershire sauce, and molasses. I think this is our first ever recipe using molasses.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. The nice thing is molasses lasts forever.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So I have this one soup. It doesn't freeze, which means I hardly ever make it. It's this lentil soup that has like spinach and tomatoes and carrots, and so some of it freezes, but some of it just doesn't freeze very well. But it has molasses and cider vinegar in it, and that's why I stock molasses.
Oh, I stock it for like ginger snaps.
You are more of a baker than I am.
Yeah, well, and when we had that sugar shortage last Christmas, which we have talked about at length because of our contraband sugar that we ended up with, whole nother story. You can make your white sugar into brown sugar by mixing in molasses with it. And so when you could find white sugar but couldn't find brown, like this is baking season, this is Christmas, everybody's freaking out about, there was a strike at the sugar plant that where we get our sugar. So the poor grocery stores are having trouble stocking it, and they were having to find all these different. And I have like Demerara sugar, which I've never used in my life. I still have some because I bought it thinking, well, if I can never find the brown sugar again, if I can never find sugar again, so it's there. It's all good. But I had the molasses just in case. I'm like, I might need to make some brown sugar.
Okay, so for your barbecue beef that has molasses in it, you're gonna take it.
Oh gosh, we haven't even got to that part yet. Sorry.
In your slow cooker, and then I cook this in the slow cooker. It just cooks all day, and then you shred it. And then I did make a mayo for this. Now, Christie had recommended that we use a horseradish mayo. I couldn't find any horseradish. I
wasn't home.
No.
And if you'd have gone and looked I had horseradish, but she didn't know.
Christie was on vacation, and I did not want to text her on vacation. So I ended up making like a Cajun mayo. Just spice things up a little, I guess. But the horseradish mayo, I think, would have been better. I had no complaints because as this was cooking, it also smelled so good to me and also to everyone in the family that I didn't even have to tell people, like, supper's ready.
They were
just
like
came
hovering.
up. Like there was and my husband is there. You can actually see it in the video where he's there like with his bun before I'm even like done shredding, and then and he's spreading his mayo on
Getting
his
ready.
bun, getting ready, like he wants it so badly. So that's how good this smelled. So no, I can't actually attest to it tasting good, but my family swears that they want me to make it again. Like they raved about it, loved it, and you can see in the video how much this actually made, and not even all of our kids were home, but there were no leftovers of this one.
Yeah.
This is not one that I could send to Christie's house afterwards because there were no leftovers, and you can see how much it was. So that should tell you right there how delicious this was. Now, maybe the question I'm going to get is, what do I eat on nights that I serve my family beef? The answer most of the time is nachos. Because I have to have nachos at least once a week. And so I just serve my family something with beef and I can eat my nachos. Or sometimes I'll eat a lunch thing, like the taquitos. I've got these chicken jalapeno popper taquitos in my freezer right now. I will pop a video up there to rotisserie chicken freezer meals that I made that included those. I am down to 3, not 3 bags, 3 individual taquitos, and I'm sad. Like,
Getting nervous.
I also eat quesadillas, which is basically nachos in a different form.
And taquitos in a different form.
Right? So
I see a pattern here.
anything with that kind of flavor profile
And it's
what you'll
easy.
find me eating.
And it's fast. It's not like you're creating like a gourmet meal for yourself.
No. Also soup. We have a lot of freezer soups, and I make them in lunch-sized portions a lot of the time, and so I will have soup for myself and feed everybody else whatever. But this particular night, I remember actually what I had, and it was leftovers of the Marry Me chicken Orzo. And the only reason there were leftovers, because I told you it makes really tiny, is because I had done it as a lunch the day before for just the toddler and I.
And so you had some. And did you hide it so nobody could?
I totally hid it. But this is the funny part, and I wish I had taken a video or a picture of this because this is true and super like embarrassing, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. I put a sticky note on the top of it.
It said chicken livers.
No, it said, like, do not eat for, and then I had our toddler's name. Which is true. I did feed it to him. He didn't have the barbecue beef on a bun. I did feed it to him the next night, but I also ate it, and I knew full well
that
when
is
I put
so
that
funny.
sticky there that I was gonna have it with him. So
That is awesome. I love that. I do the same thing for my Christmas baking. We have a very old video of me doing Christmas baking, and when I put it in the freezer, like my cookies are literally labeled chicken livers.
see,
And so you still can have them until Christmas.
and there you go.
You can have your leftovers.
Said that they were for the baby, and they were. They just weren't only for the baby.
Schnicky. Schnicky.
Okay, tell us about when you made the Salisbury steak.
I was really looking forward to the Salisbury steak because it's homey, and I had actually recommended it a long time before, and it just took us a long time to get around to putting it into the rotation and to trying it out. Partly because it's beef and it didn't sound super appetizing to you with the gravy and everything, but it's homey. It's like you go into one of those diners that you know that they're going to have liver and onions on the menu, and people who like liver and onions, that's where they will go and eat the liver and onions because it is really, really good.
And it's well done.
They know how to do it, right? That's where you find like the good Salisbury steak. That's where you find the best club sandwich you've ever had. You know the kind of diner I'm talking about. And I love that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's homey and it feels good and it is good food. So yeah, I was pretty excited to try the Salisbury steak. And so it was a little bit more complicated to put together because you're making your patties ahead of time, but I will get to that.
And then if you do the work when you're assembling the meals on the day you gotta make it, like that work's already done.
Yes.
And if you double or quadruple each of your recipes like we do, then you did it once and you don't have to do it again.
That is correct. So we are going to start out with our ground beef that is raw. We're going to mix together your ground beef with your panko breadcrumbs, your minced garlic, some Italian seasoning, an egg slightly beaten, some ketchup, some Dijon mustard, a bit of Worcestershire sauce, and salt and pepper. You are going to mix that around in your bowl, and you are going to form 4 oval patties, because Salisbury steak is like pretend steak. And you're gonna make these steak looking. So you're gonna make them into oval patties about 3/4 of an inch thick. And then you are going to cook these in some olive oil on your stove over medium-high heat, 45 minutes each side in your skillet. And then you are going to take them and place them into, we like to use an 8x8 cake pan, like the foil pans, or you could use, if you have plenty and you aren't going to miss them, you can use glass. If you use glass, you have to thaw it all the way before you put it in your oven. Sometimes Pyrex, there's different kinds of Pyrex. It's not the same as it used to be, and it's a whole thing. So just make sure it's thawed properly before you put it in your oven, or you'll break it. But we use the tin foil ones. In another bowl, we're going to mix together some mushroom soup, some evaporated milk, a bit of pepper, and some powdered beef bouillon. You can see if you can find it with non-MSG, because I know that we can find that here at our bulk barn, which is our preference. We're gonna mix that together, and then you're going to pour it over the steaks in your dish, and then you're gonna cover it with foil, and you're gonna freeze it, and that is it. When you go to cook this, you're going to allow it to thaw. You're going to remove the foil and bake it at 350 for 30 to 40 minutes in your oven. Or you can put it into a skillet and bring it up to medium and let it get good and bubbling. Throw a lid on that. It'll be moist, it'll be melty, and that gravy is going to be just so perfect on your little pretend steaks, on your Salisbury steaks. I like to serve ours with potatoes. My husband is a potato guy. I'm a potato lady. We grew up eating potatoes on the farm. And just broccoli, just a nice side of some sort of vegetable is great. And because Charlotte she's allergic to broccoli, so we don't have a ton of broccoli in our freezer meals. It is something that I often have at home because I can have it at home. and I don't get to have it often otherwise. We had some, like the chicken stir fry had broccoli right in it and stuff. We just didn't put it in yours.
Right.
You know, celery is the other one that I often have at home because I will add it to things that I can't have it when we make it in the meals.
Pesky allergies.
Pesky allergies, right?
I actually was trying to come up with what was the recipe for? Okay. I was actually trying to invent a tikka masala recipe for this upcoming mega session. And I'm looking at different recipes and kind of going like, how is this going to translate to freezer meals? And how do I feel about this versus this? And what spice blends do I want to create? And all of that stuff that goes into this brain as I'm thinking this through. And a lot of the ones I came across, you make like a cashew paste or a cashew milk to put in them, but we've got nut allergies in our house.
Right.
So it was like, okay. And then make this more complicated because Christie doesn't like coconut milk.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
It was so I might, have Christie make her own cashew milk and put coconut milk in mine.
I will have it with the coconut milk and I'll try a bit of it at home and that'll be my nacho night.
Exactly.
We have such a good curried shrimp with the coconut milk in it. It's red
curry.
Curry. And I tried it and I ate some of the shrimp and there was a lot of sauce with it, so it went into the rice and I started on it and I'm like,
You could taste the coconut.
It was just too much. I've had other things with coconut milk and it's been okay. I have a chicken satay recipe that it soaks it in coconut milk and it's okay. The lentil soup has coconut milk. It doesn't seem to bother me, but if it's enough there that it's noticeable for me, I'm out. So that would be my nacho night. We'll make it the way it is because my husband loves coconut and doesn't get to have it because I don't like it.
That's true.
If he wants to have it, he can cook. That's how I feel about
We
that.
should send our husbands on like a weekend where they have all the beef and coconut meals.
They have all they want. They would love that. Oh my goodness. They would be ridiculous.
I have a better idea. We leave our husbands here,
yes!
and they can have the beef meal at our house and the coconut meal at your house, and you and I go out for dinner.
I like it. I like that
That's a way better idea.
We're good at this, right?
And at the beginning of the video, we were talking about like how often we eat freezer meals and whatever. The exception for me, obviously you heard that nachos is an exception for me. I will occasionally for breakfast on a weekend make like an omelet. I did for my husband and I this past weekend because we were up at 5:20 with the baby, and what are you gonna do between that and church other than make an omelet? Like, oh my goodness.
You're gonna make an elaborate breakfast.
So, hash browns and whatever. Although I have a frittata that freezes well that I prefer over omelets. So if I have that in the freezer, that's an easy Sunday. I mean, just toss it in the oven. But anyway, that is one exception. Nachos, of course, being the big exception for me. And then the other one that is a definite exception for me is that my husband and I do have a date night almost every Friday night. If my mom is able to babysit, we go out on Friday nights. And my favorite thing to do is try new foods at restaurants, because then I can sometimes figure out how to freezer mealize them, how to create my own recipe around it.
She reverse engineers it.
Yes. How to get the right flavors. Sometimes it takes some tweaking and some playing around, and Christie has to be the guinea pig for that.
Totally fine. I don't mind at all, really.
But that is my other exception for eating freezer meals. If we're eating at home, it is pretty much always a freezer meal at our house. At your house, not as much. I mean, a lot, but there's like a few exceptions.
We still love to have a pizza night because who doesn't love to have a pizza night once in a while? I always have a box of chicken fingers. Like always, there's a box of chicken fingers in there. My daughter came in yesterday and she's like, I'll make you a chicken club sandwich or a wrap if you want. And I'm like, oh, I totally love that. And then she asked me what did she ask me? I forget. And I said no. It was something outrageous that I would never say yes to. Oh, I know what it is, but I'm not going to tell you on camera. And I said no. And she's 16, so I got the eye roll and the huff, and she went upstairs, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm making my own lunch. And so right then my son came in, he's like, Mom, can we have pancakes? And I'm like, all right. So I made pancakes. But, I always have chicken fingers, and then I always have, and my husband, we love Chinese food at our house. Yes, I can take it. We've been very clear. We have a lot of Asian recipes. I could take Chinese dinner out of my freezer, but there are still some nights where it's nice to just stop and go and pick that up, especially if I haven't got anything defrosted or if I've just had a day. And even just getting it out of the freezer and into a sheet pan is too much.
Well, because you are still going to create a dish that way.
Yep.
And sometimes, like, we are human, just like you guys are human. And
sometimes it's just, you hit your limit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're like...
when my husband was away, he was away for 9 days, not that long ago. And I planned on doing more, actually, like, takeout or just things to sort of treat myself, like to help me get through that time, because the baby doesn't eat much, as we've established. But I actually ended up making such good use of my lunch freezer meals and things. But the other thing that we used to do all the time, not from the freezer, is appetizers. Because I hadn't really conceptualized that you could make them ahead.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been about 3 years now since I've figured out that I can make way better appetizers than you can buy and make them ahead and have them always in my freezer. I'm out right now.
Yeah.
0. I had a birthday party for Christie that used a lot of them.
A lot of them.
We have a small group that we meet with once a week or once every 2 weeks sometimes, but you bring something if you're not hosting it.
So it's handy for that.
And we actually hosted, while you were on vacation,
oh, yeah.
we hosted our small group for the first time at our house, and I'm so mad at myself for not taking photos or video. Like, super mad at myself. I can't believe that I didn't. But I did chicken tacos 3 ways. I did street chicken tacos. This is all from my freezer, right? Street chicken tacos, the ground chicken taco meat, and zippy shredded chicken tacos in the slow cooker.
Nice.
So my husband barbecued the street chicken tacos, and I had the ground chicken ones just in a skillet, and then the slow cooker ones, of course, just sitting in the crock pot. I made all the fixings, and then people could choose to mix and match or have one.
If I am feeding a crowd, honestly, my friends and family must think that all we eat is tacos, because it is one of my favorite things to make for a crowd, because if somebody doesn't like the red pepper, they don't have to put it on. They don't have to have the pico de gallo. They can have all the guacamole. They can, and for allergies and stuff, it's gluten-free. It is just such an easy one. You have a lady in your group that has a number of allergies.
Gluten-free, dairy-free, and corn-free.
Oh.
And so she couldn't have even the corn.
Oh, she had a lettuce wrap.
She had a taco salad, and I had texted her that day and said, hey, are you okay with the taco salad, or is there a gluten-free, corn-free taco thing that I can buy that you can let me know? And she was like, no, taco salad is great. I love it. Thank you. You know, whatever. But it was so much fun, and the food, like I said, I'm mad at myself for not, we had such a spread. I had everything. Not only that, but my husband made a mistake. He was going, when he went on that trip, he was taking 3 ferries to this island called Cortez Island. His sister's husband's family has a place there, and he was taking some of our kids, and then they also went to a wedding in Victoria for a family member, and so it was like a big trip. But he was tasked with bringing 6 Costco bags of limes and 2 Costco bags of lemons on this trip. So we went to Costco, got them, put them in the fridge. He forgot to pack them. Oh, yeah.
Oh, so you have a lot of limes and lemons.
I am like bursting.
We need to have mojito day.
And so I did. So then he had to stop in Kamloops on his way there at the Costco and buy them again to bring with him. But I am like
dying with
lemons and limes. So
I would have
Christie was on vacation. I said to the people that were here, I should have thought of it before, but I could have made mojitos because I have all these limes.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, let's make them now. And so seriously, while they're here, we're all squeezing these
I love
limes.
it so much.
I texted Christie's daughter because she's away.
Oh,
and she has the best mojito recipe ever. And it's great for virgin mojitos, or you can make the real mojitos, and either one, like, they taste amazing.
I made mojitos for your daughter's baby shower.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, what was that? They were the virgin mojitos.
They're so good.
I made a giant jug of them. It was so good.
And so I texted her daughter. She texted me the picture, and I sat there with my phone and all these ladies.
I love it
and we
so
sat
much.
there and we were like, this is good for your grip strength. Like, and we made we just doubled it and made one big giant pitcher that night. And then for the thing where I said that we had our son's girlfriend's birthday supper on Sunday, we made 2 pitchers, one virgin and one alcohol.
Did you come to my house and get the mint?
No, I bought mint.
Okay, because I buy mojito mint. Just like, I take them very seriously, our mojitos. And I've hardly used it this summer. That's okay.
So I still have limes. So if you want to... If you and your husband want to come over,
we'll have mojitos. I love it.
I have enough to make pictures.
I'll bring mint.
And it's so funny. So that's why I have this lemon lime soda.
Right. That makes sense. You can't see it, but it's over there. Yeah, I love that so much. Do you know what I thought of as soon as you were talking about all these limes? I'm like, I would make pie.
Oh.
I would make a lime curd.
Some.
I'd rather have mojitos, but Oh, that's funny. I love that so much. That's a good story.
So there you go. I looked up like what can you do with
a bunch of
lemons and limes, and it gives me all these recipes that use like half a lemon or one lime or like some lemon zest, and I'm like, you don't understand. I have this much, and I'm not exaggerating. The bag is this high. It's not anymore because we have decimated some of it.
You have to tell them why he needed to take all of those.
Okay, so my niece's basically husband is like an amateur bartender just for fun, and he was gonna make cocktails, and he had virgin versions of each of the cocktails or cocktails for the 2 nights that they were going to be on this island, and everybody was tasked with like an ingredient. So it might be like one of my nieces just had to pick up like a bottle of liquor and just bring that. Another one of my nieces had to bring like cherries and grapes and all
the garnishes,
these like fruit, because it was for the sangria.
Oh.
And there was another one, like they all had their assigned things. And then he made even signs, I'll show you because I've got pictures, and cardboard signs of like they went and they picked blackberries fresh on that island that day to make these cocktails and stuff. And it was all with like organic honey, like, very like...
very BC.
Very BC. British Columbia, for those that don't know, that's the
very island, actually.
Very.
Yeah.
And they had a karaoke party one night. My husband sang badly.
He's not here to defend himself.
He knows. And they had a hippy dippy dance party, is what they called it, another night. And on that island, there's a free store where you just go and you just walk out with whatever you want. My husband almost got a juicer. I was like, that would have been good for all these lemons and limes. By the time he turned around to get it, someone else had grabbed it. But they all picked up these clothes at the free store, and then like they cut the shirt, like the sleeves off.
Oh, so they all dressed up for the party. That's so cute.
So I'll tell you, I was really jealous and sad that I didn't get to go. Our toddler is not traveling well at the moment, and he's just not coping well with change. So we couldn't do this
or nobody would have enjoyed it.
Drive with him, and we were going to be sharing accommodations with people, and we just couldn't. He wouldn't have slept, so we couldn't do that. Someone had to stay with him, and being that it was my husband's family wedding and my husband's family camping trip, I thought it would be pretty unfair for me to be the one to go. Although I should have considered it after I saw the cocktails.
Yeah, and the dance party.
And the wedding. Like, it was at a really nice place. So I would have enjoyed all of that, and I did feel like I missed out. But anyway, that is the long story behind why we have all these lemons and limes, and why we can be making mojitos for anybody. Like, you stop by, mojitos for you. You get a mojito.
You get a mojito.
You get a mojito.
Last night, my husband and I sat and we were watching commercials of, I don't know why.
How does this stuff happen?
I know. But the things that we say in everyday, like I remember explaining to my son why you get a mojito, about you get a car. And I remember as a young woman or a teenager probably watching that Oprah episode where it became the thing, because everybody in the audience legitimately needed a car. She vetted every attendee, and they were there thinking it was going to be just another kind of show, and you get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car, and that's what happened. So if you didn't know the story, that's why.
And that moment was, even watching it, I mean,
it was, you're overcome because only Oprah, right?
Yes.
So we were watching last night, and we watched the original IKEA commercial of the woman who gets her IKEA receipt and realizes she's got such a smoking deal, it's got to be a mistake. And as she's walking out to the parking lot, she's like, start the car! And they're driving away, and she's hanging onto the handle in the car going, whoa! We watched it like 4 times. We just were rolling laughing at this woman. It was like, we say it all the time as Start the car. And like just as a society, it's become a thing, but to sit back and watch that 20, 30-year-old commercial and how funny it really was. It was just brilliant on IKEA's marketing part. Yes. And it's like, where do we get these things that we say? You get a mojito, you get a mojito. It's from things like that, and I just love it so much. We've taken up enough of your time today.
Let us know in the comments if you liked this style of video. This is pretty different for us to actually show you like cooking up the meals and what we do in our homes. If you want to see me show you how I actually eat through the day of like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, let me know and I can probably pull that off for you. Again, you've probably seen in this video that I have good intentions. I like start videoing that it's going in the crock pot and then it doesn't, or I video the Moo Shu Pork in the skillet but not in the wraps because it's hard when your family's hungry and you just...
Yes. Yeah, so we try, but it's hard.
So let us know if that's something you want to see. Let us know what your freezer meals are. And also, we really are curious, like super curious, how many times a week do you eat your freezer meals?
Yeah, I want to know too.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you being here and happy cooking.
Bye.